The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show from very, very warm Las Vegas, Nevada. I arrived yesterday. I did not have any major issues with my flight, a little bit of a delay for my second flight. I flew through Denver yesterday, but I made it. And I'll tell you a little bit about what's been going on here a little bit later. There's a couple interesting tech stories I want to tell you about. One is that driverless cars are learning from the traffic simulations of the video game Grand Theft Auto. And this is fascinating to me, number one, because it's one of the few games that I actually played over time, but also because it's interesting that the AI that governs how traffic acts in the video game is now being fed back in to another AI. I mean, it's sort of AI learning from AI, and it's not what we mean from when we say a learning computer. But this is very, very interesting. And apparently, the Grand Theft Auto traffic simulation, which is Rockstar Games produces the game Grand Theft Auto. They have 262 types of vehicles, 1,000 different unpredictable pedestrians and animals, 14 weather conditions, bridges, traffic signals, tunnels, intersections, et cetera, et cetera. I can understand, Pat, how it actually might be a pretty good traffic simulator for real-life traffic computers to learn from.
Yeah, I'm actually like you on this. I was never much of a gamer growing up or even now, but Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 were the two games that I did play with some consistency. And part of the reason that I liked those games so much was because it just seemed like a real world. You could even sit back and like people watch for a few seconds, and you can observe the normal traffic rules if you wanted to. Of course, it's much more fun to drive like a mad person and you know, go around and commit all these crimes, but you know, very advanced technology for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I actually never played 4 or 5. I got to the most recent one I played was San Andreas. And I remember downloading 4 from Steam, and it just would not work right with the computer I had at the time. And I've not gone back to it. But once I actually am sure I have a computer that can handle 4 and 5, are those just as entertaining?
So much better. I've played a little bit of, I think 3 Vice City, but you know, so much of an upgrade for the next 2. So you gotta get that. Very good game.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about quantum computing, and Google is now saying that they, in a few months, will be able to demonstrate that they are working with a quantum computer. By the end of this year, John Martinez says his team will build a device that achieves, quote, quantum supremacy, which means it can perform a particular calculation that is beyond the reach of any conventional computer. And the way that they are going to prove this is with a sort of computer drag race between this new quantum chip that Google is developing and one of the world's largest supercomputers. And one of the reasons that Martinez is so confident is that he says that they've already been testing the chip in head-to-head contests. And I don't want to get too technical, partially because I don't even fully understand it, but to rehash what we've talked before about quantum computing, quantum chips represent digital data using what are called qubits. And qubits can sort of shortcut through calculations by exploiting the physics of quantum mechanics. So it's basically upending the way that the computer chip can do calculations. And it just would be, if and when quantum computing becomes mainstream, it's going to exponentially upgrade the power that computers have. Google's latest chip has 6 qubits in a 2x3 configuration. Martinez says he'll need a grid of 49 qubits to ultimately do the quantum supremacy sort of computer drag race experiment. But there is so much here. I mean, I think because it's very technical, Pat, I think that it's hard for people to even grasp how a quantum computer, sort of at its full potential, or at least the full potential we understand to exist today, it's hard for people to even understand how that would drastically change computing and our abilities. But it's such a major story that I think only when it actually happens will we start to realize the magnitude of.
It is interesting, and as someone who's not too big into tech myself, I have a difficult time commenting on this. But I don't know what a Quibbit is, for example. But what strikes me as interesting is that Google you think of more as a software company than a hardware company, and I guess maybe in more recent times they've come around to have these more standalone devices, and they have they're getting into different fields nowadays.
And I think this was part of the rebranding of Google with Alphabet Inc. being the sort of holding company, where Alphabet Inc. is the overarching company which owns Google as well as all of the other projects that Google is involved in, including quantum computing stuff, including self-driving cars, all of that stuff. I mean, it was a rebrand in a way, and I guess it's been effective in terms of it makes sense. Although I don't know, Pat. Most people still that I talk to are completely unaware that Google is really now Alphabet is what we're talking about when we talk about all of the other projects.
Yeah, well, I mean, just, to go back to what I said before, I think, even 10 years ago or so, you would associate Google more so with their website, with YouTube, with, the software stuff. And now I think because they're working towards autonomous cars, their own phone line, the standalone devices like Google Home, it makes sense why they would be able to develop a supercomputer that rivals just about anything else.
Yeah, at this point, they're one of the top candidates, I would imagine, if you said to me, who's going to develop a quantum computer? So what is going on in Las Vegas? As some of you know, twice a year, there's a conference here called Mass Torts Made Perfect. It's organized by the law firm of friend of the show, attorney Mike Papantonio. So it's mostly lawyers who come here, but there are also media people that show up. Sam Cedar, host of Majority Report, is a regular. So last night, I had dinner with Sam Cedar and with a couple of the people from Ring of Fire, and it's always good to catch up and see what everybody is sort of up to. Being all over the country, Sam's in New York, and the Ring of Fire people are in Florida. We're in Boston. Young Turks people are mostly in Los Angeles. It's very easy to sort of lose touch with what everybody is doing. So it's always good to meet in person and catch up with people, and there's always really good panels and seminars about what's going on in the plaintiff's law world and some of the horrible things, the products, I mean, really just products and services that from big corporations that are really, really taking advantage of consumers in a way that is horrifying. But also, being in Vegas, I'm not like a big Vegas guy. And I was thinking how fitting it is, Pat. We scheduled the interview with Natasha Schull about gambling addiction and video poker and video slots. We scheduled that like 6 weeks ago. And it just so happens that it lines up with when we're doing the show from Vegas. Kind of fitting, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think people who just watched the main show and didn't tune into the bonus show might not know that you're in Las Vegas. I don't know if you had mentioned that, but they just may think you're in a peach-colored room somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm.
But it is very fitting.
Only at the very end of the show, I think I mentioned it. Yeah, every time I'm here, I have a different background. And I was going to do the show facing the opposite direction because there's a nice sort of patio here at the hotel with trees, and it would be a whole different setup. But it's very bright here because it's 87 degrees and sunny. So the backlighting would have made me very difficult to see. And so this is what we're dealing with today. If it's overcast tomorrow, I could flip it potentially.
Very tough to film in front of a window.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So anyway, for me, I don't really gamble. If I do anything, I'll go and play blackjack a little bit. But I don't really I don't know if it's because I don't gamble. Like maybe I do have an addictive personality, and if I started gambling regularly, like forcing myself to, I would start to sort of experience some of the signs of problem gambling. I just don't care. I walk through the casino and never mind the slot machines, but even a lot of the table games, I just don't care. I used to kind of play poker in low stakes poker games with friends, and I got kind of sick of it, but it's just never really been my thing,
I'm surprised though that blackjack is still your go-to, because that's a game that is 90% luck. I mean, sometimes based on what the other players you think they have, you may change your mind as to whether to hit or stay with the cards that you have. But a game like poker is much more about strategy and skill. So that's the
Absolutely.
direction I would guess that you would go to, and that's the direction I would go to.
If I were going to spend more than 20 minutes playing, I absolutely would. And the way it usually works is like after dinner, walking through the casino, a few of the people that are here will say, hey, let's just sidle up to a blackjack table, and you can easily all play at the same table. Poker, you've got to get on a waiting list. It's very unlikely that you would actually end up sitting at a table with your friends, not to mention, are you really trying to take your friends' money? So that's why it's just more of a thing, because after 15 or 20 minutes, I'm kind of done already. It could take a half hour to even sit down at a poker table.
See, with me, with blackjack, I just have the same strategy every time. If you have 16 or under, you hit. If you have 17 or over, you stay. So it doesn't change up too much with me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, you basically play by the book. And, when you do that over time, you will lose because the house has an advantage. And this is why it's all so pointless. It really is. You're just going to lose your money.
Yeah. Don't do that then. Don't lose your money. You got to make sure to win every single time.
Keep the money, I guess is what we're saying.
Or at least play a game where skill is involved more.
We are, I think the casino in... is it Everett in Massachusetts that's coming in?
I'm not sure. I know there's one casino that's open currently in Massachusetts.
I think it's a Steve Wynn-owned property that is coming in Everett, and that's where the conference is. And I'm just so sick of the whole Steve Wynn stuff with Trump. And I mean, the guy is just, I don't know how much you know about him, Pat, but he's like a multi-billionaire. I think at this point let me see how old is Steve Wynn at this point? He's 75 years old. And I'm so sick of the entire Steve Wynn, Donald Trump thing. And actually, I posted a picture to my Instagram account of the view from my room, and I see Trump Tower, and it's just an eyesore. It's gold plated. Like even they coat the windows so that they reflect like a gold color. It's all so gaudy and horrible.
Yeah, I was in New York just recently this past week, and I made sure that I was not going to even walk past the Trump building. I didn't see any Trump stuff in the entire time that I was there. So that's good news, I guess.
Although, you know that the lesser well-known Trump building is, the most well-known one is up around Midtown, but you said you went to the Bull, the Wall Street Bull.
He does have a building
That's
there.
about a block and a half. That's about a block and a half from the Wall Street Trump building.
And I saw that on Google Maps on my phone, and I could have gone over to it, but I think you'd be proud of me. I decided not to.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think you made the right call there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here in Vegas for the rest of the week. We'll be doing the show from here. As a result, we will not be able to take live calls. We just can't really do it in a simple way with me here. But that's okay. That doesn't mean we won't get back to live calls, and we'll be doing other things here. And I think with that, we can all we have something to look forward to.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.